So we're on the last surviving 40 acres that my father and mother spent their life on. Originally, it was just a cabin in the woods. My father and mother would travel on the road, and so he wanted to have a place that was close to the house where he could go and just relax and take it easy and sort of be away from everything. And so in 1979, he had this place built. My dad would just come over here and listen to music and relax. There's a lot of things here in the cabin that were his or were my mother's. But it's really home, you know, as close to home as a cache can have in life is the cabin.
Here at Huckberry, we believe your home is more than just a place to live. It's a reflection of your style, your passions, and the stories of adventures along the way. Join us as we step inside the inspiring spaces of our community that truly embody what it means to live well. This is Huckberry Homes.
I'm John Carter Cash. I produce music, among other things. Also, I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm a painter. I'm a beekeeper. I've had the honor of producing Loretta Lynn, even people like Chris Cornell, George Jones. I mean, the list goes back and forth and on and on. Y'all come on now, let me show you around the Cash cabin. This is the original space of the Cash cabin. It was laid out completely different back then, really, but most everything's the same as around the walls. These are poplar logs, and they're local. It's hand-hewn, no machinery, but human hand in the old style. There's different pictures that have been hanging up since this place has been here. This is myself walking on this property when I was 7 or 8 years old. Photograph my father took of a Bible page. And then over here, my grandmother playing the piano. Most of these people may have gone on, but we have their memory still with us. Through the years, there have been so many people that have visited here. Folks have signed the mantle, everybody from Eddie Arnold to Reese Witherspoon to Taylor Swift, to John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, to Snoop Dogg. I mean, there's been so many folks through the years, and their names are all upon the mantle. If you look right here, there's one of the first markings that was ever put on this, and that was my father with an iron. And my father told the story that he found this branding iron in the woods here on this property, like it was an old artifact. My dad also said, never let the truth stand in the way of a good story. And then if you look up here, this is something my father gave to me when I was 10 years old. I was interested in guitar, and so my father drew the neck of the guitar and where to put your fingers on the neck to make certain chords, and then he wrote out the first verse for I Walk the Line. I admit I did not really get into guitar at that time until a few years later, but I've kept the memento, and it means a lot to me. This room, sometimes we will record acoustic instruments in here, and sometimes the whole band will gather in a circle. Quite often, actually, we record drums right here because they just sound very good with the vaulted ceiling and something about the magic of this stone. And there's a coyote up there howling at the drummer, so drummers like that. But my dad recorded half of the American Recordings records in this one room. When I was young, I saw my father on stage. I saw the image of the man in black. I saw him perform, and I wanted to be like him. My parents never pushed being a musician or being a music producer on me, never. They never said, this is what you need to do. But he believed in me. He believed in what I was capable of. And so, you know, I feel that support still. And so I hope I can offer the same love to my children. I hope I can be the same father in that way, to make them feel like that they have purpose and to let them know they're special. But the simplest things can mean a whole lot, you know. My mother did a lot of the design here, and she hung these drapes back in 1979. And they're just a very simple pattern, but they bring back a lot of memory. It wasn't just the music that my mother was making, it was life, it was togetherness. And as she brought about family, she brought people in closer. It's not the greatest table in the world, but I've written more songs at that table than anywhere else in my life. This is a painting that was actually the back cover, I believe, of an album that I did called The Cash Collective. This little key ring holder thing here. This just little artifacts, you know, that are the cabin to me. Cash Cabin Honey, and I have a website and I sell it online, but very limited amount that I sell is available. But this is this year's first harvest, and it's absolutely delectable. It has a wonderful, bright floral flavor, very light. Cash Cabin Honey, wonderful stuff. So my grandmother Maybelle, of course, is one of the greatest musicians in country music history. She sort of developed country music and country guitar picking also. But here she is in this stained glass piece holding an auto harp. But Maybelle Carter came down from the mountains and spread country music to the world. It's all in the family, the Carter family, original Carter family. The music also echoes in these rooms. No, you can't tell me that it doesn't. People come here, they get creative, and music is a big part of what makes this home. My father had this room built the year that he died. He recorded in here once. He recorded 2 songs in here that I'm certain of. One session he did a song called Like the 309, and then the very last thing he recorded was a session for me. Did a song called Engine 143 that was nominated for a Grammy. This is a late 1800s organ. We use it some, not a whole lot. This is the #1 copy of my album Pineapple John. There's lots of little things around here. Myself and Marty Stewart in 1985 in Sydney, Australia. Little things that mean a lot. When it comes to memory, it comes to looking at the bits of history, and you think about where they come from. Without the story, they don't mean as much. There's a Johnny Cash guitar pick sealed in this plexiglass forever. This is actually a gold album to commemorate the sale of 500,000 copies. It was given to me for American 4, Solitary Man, the album of my father's that I worked on. A photograph of my father and I on the set of the film North and South, where he had the role and then I had a minor role. But there's a picture of he and I there looking all badass. Sitting and watching my father play music and record was a learning experience. In the latter part of his life, most everything that he sang from memory. But Dad was losing his eyesight. He was struggling with his health. He was pressing on. He was continuing on in the face of physical sickness and spiritual adversary. All these things he was encountering in life seemed as if they were to stop his creative drive, but it did not. Even when my mother passed away, my dad said, "I've got to get back in the studio. I've got to keep making music." And so that was my father's therapy. That was his way of expressing himself. And it was something that we would do together. I worked with my dad in the studio almost every session that he did from 1998 until the end of his life. And so I got to watch my dad endure, even though his body did give up, even though, the skin did not last forever. His spirit endured, and it does still, in many different ways. If you look up here, this photograph taken by Marty Stewart, and it was taken 10 or 12 days before my father passed away. This is actually the very last portrait taken of my father, and Marty gave that to me not long after Dad passed away, and it's hung up in here ever since. The picture, it just means a whole lot thinking about it. I learned many lessons from my father, but if I have to say what the most important is, it's to continue no matter what. It's to keep your creative going. It's to not stop because you find love in music. If you take a look in here, this is the game room with all the keyboards and all the animals' heads in here. I don't play a whole lot of piano, but we have some amazing piano players in here all the time, so it's good to have the instruments. My favorite piano that's in here is this 1889 Steinway that my father had rekeyed in the 1960s. This piano probably didn't sound as good in 1950 as it did in 1970. So instruments, sometimes come back strong because of the way that they're treated, the way they're taken care of, and sometimes they never lose it. There's a few instruments around here that have just never lost it. The fishing pole hanging here, you can see the king snake skin hanging on it. But this fishing pole was actually belonged to my grandmother Maybelle. Would have been in Florida. It's made its way up here. There's a picture of my father and John Anderson with a rather large wild Russian boar on the wall, and that mounted boar is hanging on the wall right here. The first deer that I ever harvested is back up, hanging up there. To me, the most important message that I think from my family that I could relate to other people is to appreciate the loved ones that we have, to let them know today how much they mean, to share the love that you have today, to be where you are and live in the now, to be together, and also to be there with them even through the roughest times. Back over here, we call this the fish room, and this is where most of the vocals are recorded at the Cache Cabin. If you look back over here, this is a 94-pound wahoo, which is a rather large wahoo I was proud of catching in 1983. And there's my father and myself and the fish in a photograph underneath it. A few other fish that my mother and father or I caught through the years in here. And my father and I in the studio about 1974, 75. But if you look back over here, we have Cowboys Ragtime Band BAM member rules. These are studio recording rules from Jack Clement. I've worked with hundreds of musicians and produced thousands of songs by now. To me, what's most important still is to have fun. Have a good day, listen, and remember that it only takes 3 minutes to cut a hit record. Music connects our hearts to our life. It connects, it helps us fill the dots in. It helps us put the picture together. You know, whether it's a song we love or a song that we create, we take that on as our own story, right? It means something to us. It's part of our own journey. And so there's a magic in that. And that's something that we all can share. All right. This is the console room. This is where the engineer sits, or where people will sit and listen back to the music. Lots of musicians, master musicians, have sat in this room and listened to someone's song and then figured out how they were going to translate that song. There's really no science in the way that we laid this place out in the design process. I mean, it's eclectic. It basically looks like the interior of my mind, I guess you would say. I mean, a lot of it's also things that are gifts from other people. But I mean, there's my father's favorite hymn book over here. But then, then you have some award that Dad received in the 1970s with a bizarre carving, and then up over here are my 2 physical Grammys that I've won. I've got those sitting out. I don't brag or show them around, but I figure I got to put them somewhere. If you look back up here, we call this the birdhouse. Marty Stewart, he suggested in the first place that I do this edition, but he gave me this stained glass piece to put in. And so we designed an area that had a light behind it to where we could put up that piece of stained glass. And we call that the birdhouse. And then if you look over here, these are boomerangs from a boomerang contest, and they were given to my father in Brisbane, Australia in 1971. And my father was a champion boomerang thrower. He was actually really good at it. One thing that's interesting is this couch. It's beginning to fall apart, there is no doubt. This couch was in my parents' house from 1968 until it was moved over here in the 1990s. And it has sat here since then. So it's spent many years in my parents' home or in the cabin. It's used a lot. These pillows are the original pillows from my parents' house from 1968. So, I mean, that couch has had a lot of life and love, right? A lot of love. If I had a physical object that I say was most connected with my father, it would probably be this rocking chair. Right here it says JRC, and there's a date, 4/1985, MIW, and that stands for Man in White. My father wrote a novel called Man in White, and he finished that in this chair. Most artists that come here they're gravitated to this chair, it seems like, and it's still sturdy, still in good shape. Still strong oak. You know, if I look at the next 20 years here, I hope I can grow to be an old man in these walls. I do. I hope that I can have some quiet time here. I hope that I can sit on the front porch and play my guitar and, you know, look at the new life that's being created around me and appreciate it. I wouldn't know where else to go if I didn't go here, right? This is my home. This is where my creative journey continues. And so I cherish the time that I have here making music. I cherish that time because I know time passes and things change. And I want to continue to show that I believe, even in the face of fear or in the face of failure, that I believe in myself and that I believe in my children and that I will continue, and the creativity will win out. You know, I hope I can put love into everything that I do every day. And I learned that from my mother and father.